Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's etaprime back here again. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the most powerful 8-inch Android tablet on the market. I mean, hands down, this thing is putting down some absolutely amazing performance. And what we have here is the all-new 2025 Lenovo Legion Tab, also known as the Y700. And what makes this so fast is the CPU they opted to use here. And up until now in 2024, Lenovo did release one of these with the Snapdragon Gen 3, which is still an excellent ARM CPU for a tablet like this. But the 2025 model received the upgraded Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite. This is the first tablet I've been able to get my hands on with this CPU, and we've taken a look at it in phones before. Hands down, it's the best performing CPU that we've seen in an Android device to date. And, there will be something a bit faster, probably in a few months from Qualcomm, because that's how technology works. But we finally got an 8.8-inch tablet with the 8 Elite, and performance here is outstanding. Inside of the box, along with the Legion Tab, we're also going to get a 68-watt fast charger and our USB Type-C cable. That's about it. You also get a little bit of a user manual. And these Legion tabs have definitely been some of my favorite tablets on the market due to the form factor. This one's no different, and we do get the dual USB Type-C ports like we saw on the older versions of the Legion tab. So we've got one down here, which is going to be our main port for charging and data transfer. But over here on the side, we've got another USB Type-C port, and this does support video out. It'll do up to 4K 60, 1440, 120, or 144 Hz at 1080p. We've also got a PC mode built in here. We'll take a quick look at it, but it's something that I think I need to do a full video on because there's so much packed in. But when it comes to the overall specs of the new 2025 Legion Tab from Lenovo, we've got that Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite. So it's an 8-core ARM SoC, and it'll clock up to 4.32 gigahertz. So it's definitely a really high clock there on the bigger cores. They're offering two different storage and RAM variants. So you can pick this up with 12 gigs of RAM and 256 gigabytes of internal storage, or you can go all out with 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of storage. But both of them are utilizing LPDDR5X RAM and super fast UFS 4.1 storage. Plus, you can add a micro SD card to either of these up to 2 terabytes. When it comes to the screen here, it's a 165 Hz 8.8-inch IPS display with a resolution of 3040 by 1904, 12-bit color depth up to 600 nits of brightness. So this is an upgraded display from the older versions. We've also got Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.4, a 7600 milliamp hour battery with 68-watt fast charging capabilities, and it's running Android 15 out of the box. So when it comes to overall usability, I mean, this thing is super quick. I've got the 12 gig version with 256 gigs of storage, and that's basically all I'm going to need here. 12 gigs is more than enough. Plus, you could use that expanded RAM feature if you wanted to. It's something I always disable because we would be using internal storage for RAM. It's just not as fast. But you can bring this up to around 18 gigs the way it sits if you want to do that. One of my favorite features of this tablet is PC mode, and we can actually use it on the built-in screen. So down here at the bottom, you see we've got our taskbar. You can connect a mouse and keyboard. Plus, we can connect this to a larger display, and I will have a full video on that because there's a lot that I want to cover over there. You can basically turn this into a full-fledged Android desktop PC. Just taking a look at it on the built-in screen here, snap feature, freeform windows. It's a really awesome little setup here, and Lenovo's been doing this for quite some time on their tablets. Before we get into game testing and emulation, I did want to give you a look at a few benchmarks, and the first one here is 3D Mark Steel Nomad Lite. Unfortunately, I could not get Wildlife Extreme to run. It kept telling me that the application was corrupted. Tried re-downloading it, it just wouldn't work. But with Steel Nomad Lite, we got a total score of 2,572. And this is one that I did not run on the Snapdragon Gen 3 version that was released in 2024. But I did run these other benchmarks so we can go side by side with them. Over on the left-hand side, we've got the new 2025 model with the Snapdragon 8 Elite, Geekbench 6, single core 3074, multi 8641. Just taking a look over on the right-hand side with that Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 Legion Tab from 2024, single core 2224, multi 6881. And the final one we have here is in 2.2 on the Snapdragon 8 Elite version, 2,627,282. Over on the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 version, little over 2 million, And if you take a look down the list, I mean, you can see that the 8 Elite is really eating up that 8 Gen 3, especially when it comes to GPU performance. And that's going to really help out with gaming because, after all, the Legion Tab is marketed as a gaming tablet. We're going to get in here with Minecraft, and I know it's not a super hard game to run, but we do have some gaming-centric features that'll just be easy to see here. And once we're in any game, we can swipe over from the left-hand side. This is going to bring up our performance menu. We've got 3 different performance modes that we can choose from. We've got an energy saving mode, balanced, and performance. For something like Minecraft, we don't need to be in performance, but I'm going to leave it there right now. We've got a pretty big battery here, and I've been getting some decent battery life out of this anyway. We've also got some other features like a built-in screen recorder, screenshots, on-screen crosshair. There's a voice changer built in here, but my favorite is the on-screen FPS counter or on-screen performance monitor. We can swap this out a little bit, so if you just want to check out the FPS, you can, but this is going to give us the temperature, battery life, and FPS. And like I mentioned, we've got a 165 hertz display. With Minecraft, we can only do up to 120, but it's a continuous 120 hertz on this device. And I'm sitting at around 28 chunks right now. It looks great like this. And again, it's not a super hard game to run, but running it on a tablet at 120 FPS is pretty impressive. Personally, I prefer using a controller with a tablet like this, and unfortunately there's not a ton of options on the market at the time of making this video. But what I've got here is the GameSir Galileo. It's connected over USB Type-C, and I've stretched the spring so it does fit on this tablet. I can put it back together if I wanted to, and not a lot of people are going to do this, but it does hold the tablet just fine. And getting into something like Fortnite, I'm totally maxed out with this game right now, and I do want to get into the settings just to show you exactly what I'm talking about. We've also got the HD textures completely downloaded. So we're at epic settings, 100% resolution scale. Our frame rate can only go up to 90 hertz with this game. And I don't know if there's any other devices out there that allow us to go a little higher than this, but for the most part, everything that I've tested that can reach this only has that toggle up to 90, and usually I got to go to either 50 or 75% resolution scale. But since this tablet is utilizing that Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite, we can max this game out on Android, and it does look really good. Setting everything down stationary, I'm using an Xbox controller connected over Bluetooth. We've got Call of Duty Mobile. And to go to the extreme FPS setting, it does take the settings to medium, but this game can be totally maxed out if you don't mind playing at 60. The only way we can go up to 120 is just setting it to that extreme FPS rate, and it is super smooth here at 120 FPS on this thing. I also wanted to test out Genshin Impact, and we finally got native Android controller support. It's been on iOS for a long time, and I missed it for a couple months. It's something that I used to check out, every month. Kind of gave up on it, but now we can use basically any controller with this game on Android. The next thing we need is a 120 hertz mode, but right now from the settings, we're at highest 60 FPS, so it's maxed out here, and it's running at a continuous 60 FPS on the Snapdragon 8 Elite tablet. Now it's time to get into some emulation, and we're going to start out here with Dolphin and some Wii. I want to show you the settings we're using, and since we have a Snapdragon chip, I am using the OpenGL backend, not Vulkan. And when it comes to our resolution, we're at 4x, which means we're at 2560 by 2112 here with Wii emulation on Android. Now, not every single game is going to be able to be upscaled like this, but for the most part, if the game's compatible with the emulator in Android, 3x to 4x is going to be totally possible on this chipset. And since the new Legion Tab's display is a 3K display, it does make a big difference. One game I was really hoping for 4x in was Rogue Squadron for GameCube, still using the Dolphin emulator, OpenGL backend, but with this I had to take it down to 1080, so we're at 3x resolution scale. Still pretty awesome because, if you've ever tried this on a lower end device or any device, you know how hard it can be to run. For the most part, with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, we can do up to 720, and in some areas it does kind of dip under that 60 mark, but with this setup, we're at 1080 with this. And of course, we had to test out some PS2 emulation. I'm using Nether SX2, OpenGL backend, 4x resolution. And since the aspect ratio is a bit different, we're at 2560 by 1792, and other games at 4x might be a little lower or even a little higher than this. But everything that I tested so far, even God of War 2 was able to go up to 4x resolution with this emulator. Here's Gran Turismo 4, and I mean, this game does look really good when you're upscaled this high. And again, we've got that higher resolution display, so it does make sense to do something like this with this screen. So far, I've been having a blast with this device, and I will have a full review coming up in about the next week. There's a lot that I want to test with this, and I'm actually going on a trip really soon. I'm going to bring this with me, and we'll be able to get an idea of battery life and everything like that. But in the meantime, I will be testing PC mode here on a larger display. I think a dedicated video for that would be well worth making. And Lenovo does market this as a gaming tablet, but you could also get some work done. You could do some video editing, photo editing. We've got plenty of power with that Snapdragon 8 Elite. But that's going to wrap it up for my first look at the 2025 Lenovo Legion Tab. If there's anything else you want to see running on this device in my next video, just let me know in the comments below. And if you're interested in learning a little more, I will leave some links in the description. But that's it for this one. Like always, thanks for watching.